Breaking news, the Chiefs are at it again. Patrick Mahomes signed a 10-year extension, and they've extended defensive tackle Chris Jones for a reported 4 years and $85 million. Jones was franchise tagged. There was a deadline for tomorrow afternoon to reach an agreement on a long-term deal, and the team and Jones have done just that. According to multiple reports, it would make him the second highest paid defensive tackle in the league, behind only Aaron Donald. And Aaron Donald is the only other defensive tackle who has more sacks than Chris Jones since he entered the league 4 years ago. Bringing in the two-time Super Bowl champion, Bryant McFadden. Bryant, that's got to make you feel good. I mean, you got your offensive guy, Patrick Mahomes, extended, and still enough money left over to extend your big-time player on the defensive front for 4 years.
No question, Chris. And I'm excited about this deal. And I'm not even, a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I don't have any ties to the organization. But seeing how they've been able to go about their business and pay their outstanding players that were due for a contract, or pay Pat Mahomes, get his deal out of the way now. They've done a phenomenal job. The organization, Brett Veach, the way he's going about his business and making sure he secured his top flight players has been spectacular. So I think right now, before Chris Jones' deal, before Pat Mahomes' deal, many felt like they were the favorite to win the championship once again. But now seeing how they've been able to satisfy their key players, Chris, financially, no disgruntled player at all that's a part of this organization getting ready for this upcoming season. I mean, Chris Jones already voiced his opinion about potentially holding out, going the same route that Le'Veon Bell went with the Pittsburgh Steelers a few years back, and seeing what happened with Pat Mahomes last week. And then many people felt like there's no way in the world the Kansas City Chiefs can give Chris Jones a deserving deal. They went out and defied all odds. I mean, gave Pat Mahomes a deserving deal, gave Chris Jones a deserving deal. I mean, his contract is almost pretty much fully guaranteed. I mean, $60 million guaranteed right now, $85 million in totality in the entire contract, and he's right behind Aaron Donald. I think he's okay with that, and because he signed the deal, so clearly we know he's okay with that. So no question, Brett Veach has been the exec of the year, in my opinion, right now, and the season hasn't even started yet.
9 sacks last season, 24.5 sacks over the last 2 seasons. He was the 22nd highest paid Chiefs player last year. That will change immediately. We showed you the graphic where he's now going to be the second highest paid defensive tackle in the league, behind only Aaron Donald. Where does he rank, in your opinion, individually in the middle of that defensive line, among the best in the league?
I mean, he's right there. I think you look at the graphic, when you look at the rankings per year salary, I think the same could be said for the production, the consistency in which Chris Jones has displayed year in and year out will put him on my list number 2. I mean, I think he's a top flight defensive tackle, and he's not just a one-trick pony. I mean, his ability to really be disruptive in the running game has shown up. We know what he does when it comes to putting pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. You just hit on that stat. So he's right where he needs to be in the per year salary rankings, and I would have him number 2 when you look at production throughout all the defensive tackles in the National Football League.
So let's take a look at the highest paid Chiefs going into the season. Patrick Mahomes, the highest paid player in NFL history, his average salary at about $45 million. And then it's Chris Jones after he signs this reported contract, 4 years, $85 million with $60 million guaranteed. Frank Clark, Tyreek Hill, and the Honey Badger as well. When you look at this team from a long-term perspective, B-Mac, Patrick Mahomes for the next, actually it's 12 years because he has 2 years left on his deal and then the 10-year extension. Chris Jones for the next 4 years. What else does the front office need to do at this point to ensure that this team can be a dynasty in the NFL for the next decade?
Well, I think the most important factor for them to continue to have that dynasty mindset, they have to be lucky when it comes to dodging big-time injuries to big-time players. I mean, we saw that hamper the Golden State Warriors and their dynasty because of the injuries to significant players. That's number 1. If they can dodge the injury bug and be lucky on that end, yes, they will continue to go in that direction. And secondly, for me, continue to draft players and develop players, right? Continue to have a nice draft and being able to develop those guys that eventually could show up and take over for some of these pricey players if they decide to go elsewhere when their contract expires is the biggest factor for me. Secondly, outside of being lucky when it comes to the injury standpoint. And so far, as of late, they've done a real good job in drafting players and developing players. The two most recently, recently signed players, Pat Mahomes was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. They developed him. Chris Jones was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. They developed him. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, the list can go on and on and on. So far, they've done a real good job, Chris, in drafting key guys that fit what they love to do on both sides of the football and developing them. So they have to continue that structure. I love what they did this past draft in selecting Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round. I think he will fit in that offense rather nicely, but continuing to draft well and dodging the injury bug in my opinion, will keep this franchise in that dynasty mindset.
Yeah, you always need a little bit of luck, that's for sure. And the Patriots had that throughout their dynasty. Tom Brady, really just 1 year having a significant injury. This is pretty rare, though, B-Mac, for a deal like this to come through just about 24 hours to the deadline. Are you surprised that this got done at this hour?
No question, Chris. I'm surprised. I was getting prepared to talk about Chris Jones potentially playing under the franchise tag. I did not think they could get this deal done, a deserving deal. But like I said, man, if I had a hat on, I would tip my hat to Brett Veach. His staff, they done a real good job in being able to finesse the numbers to get deserving deals to their key players. I mean, the graphic you showed up with the highest paid players in the Kansas City Chiefs organization. I mean, every deal that's tied to that respectable player, they're all deserving. They're all deserving, from Pat Mahomes, Chris Jones, Tyreek Hill, Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark, all deserving deals. So for the organization, for Brett Veach and his staff, man, for them to be able to beat that deadline, that big time deadline that we're all getting ready to talk about when it comes to the franchise tag deadline, it was surprising for me, but clearly they're doing some good things in Kansas City.
Deadline mid-afternoon on Wednesday for teams to sign their tendered players, their tagged players, I should say, to long-term deals. Of course, we're all kind of waiting on the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, and this one snuck up on us. It's Chris Jones agreeing to a 4-year extension with the Kansas City Chiefs, according to multiple reports. That's Bryant McFadden, our two-time Super Bowl champion. Chris Jones, 33 sacks since 2016 when he entered the league, second only to Aaron Donald, who is now the only defensive tackle who's going to make more per season AAV than Chris Jones. 4 years, $85 million, with $60 million of that guaranteed. Up next, much more on the Chiefs reaching a big-time agreement with a big-time defensive tackle. The Pick Six podcast fellas will join us.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.